And it was rocket power that would give birth to one of the most famous weapons of World War II, the bazooka. Rocket power would finally create a delivery system that would accelerate shape-charged weapons and open a new chapter in the struggle against tanks and bunkers. Rockets had been used in warfare for centuries, but it wasn't until the 1920s and 30s that they became a serious and reliable proposition. As war loomed, the U.S. Army tested the feasibility of using rocket technology to fire shape charges at Aberdeen Proving Ground. By 1942, the bazooka was born, and its name came from an unusual source.
This is the American bazooka, named after Bob Burns, who had a musical instrument that he called a bazooka. It was a tube that he could play, and so this is what it looked like, so the troops called it a bazooka.
A two-man crew would operate the 2.36-inch bazooka. The number one would shoulder, aim, and fire the weapon. The number two was responsible for loading the rocket projectile, connecting the electric firing cable, and clearing the weapon to fire. Once the firer got the tap, he was ready to go. Fired at a tank at close range, the results could be devastating. The bazooka could be used not only against tanks, but also against bunkers. It was a truly feared weapon, despite some problems.
One of the drawbacks is that as the rocket goes out the front, you've also got rocket exhaust coming out the back. So you have flash in the front and flash in the back. Consequently, if you're in a confined area, it's very difficult to use this because you could burn yourself or burn others.
The flash also gave away the firer's position. Yet even with these shortcomings, the Germans were impressed with the technology. When they captured some bazookas in North Africa, they simply made it bigger, boosting it to a 3.5-inch caliber. The German Panzerschreck, or Tank Terror, was a lethal take on its American predecessor. No tank was safe. By 1944, problems with the first models were addressed in an improved version, with a shield to protect the firer from backblast. In whatever form, it was lethal due to its bigger caliber. It could blow holes in tanks at up to 165 yards and penetrate 8¼ inches of steel.
If you hit an American Sherman, it would take it out, not a problem. The gunner would have lifted this up to his shoulder, and then he would have had a loader that would have loaded this thing for him. One man could have done it, but it was a difficult operation.
The crew-operated Panzerschreck wasn't the only weapon to show the Germans were technologically ahead of the game. They would create one of the most simple, yet deadly weapons of World War II, and one that would spawn another, even more fearful relative. By World War II, it was widely understood that if an infantryman wanted to take out a tank, he needed a portable weapon with a hollow-charged warhead. Each side boasted their own models, like the bazooka or Panzerschreck, all deadly to armor. The race between the tank and the foot soldier was about to get even more intense with the birth of the forefather of all man-portable anti-armor weapons. By the middle of World War II, the Germans face a problem. Allied tanks are closing in on all fronts, and they can't make enough tanks of their own. They need a cheap, portable, one-shot anti-tank weapon that every infantryman could carry.
They needed more weapons to knock out the hordes of T-34s that were flowing across the steppes of Russia and moving toward East Germany. So they came up with a weapon, a propelled grenade. It was a tube, a simple tube like a pipe.
This simple metal tube was married with a hollow charged bomb to create the German Panzerfaust. An explosive propellant charge sent the bomb on its way to the target.
This is the German Panzerfaust, or Panzer Fist, and it is a very, very effective anti-tank weapon. You put it up under your arm and aimed it and fired it and threw this thing away.
Easy to use and above all lightweight, this throwaway weapon was ordered by the Heereswaffenamt, the German Army Weapons Office, in 1942. It began to appear in various sizes from 1943 onwards. It terrified Allied tank crewmen on all fronts and proved a potent weapon.
These early Panzerfaust, these inexpensive handheld launchers, had only a range of 30 to 60 meters. It was a very short-range weapon, but it was ideal for the Bocage country, the hedgerows of Normandy, and they could be fired from the side or rear of Allied tanks in very close range. And they could be made in very, very large numbers, and they were quite successful considering how simple a weapon they were.
The great thing about it is the warhead. This is a shaped charge, and you see how big the diameter of the shaped charge would have been. So this is a very, very large warhead and a very effective warhead. During the Battle of Berlin, civilians were issued these to take on Russian tanks, and they were very, very effective. A 12-year-old can do this. The Hitler Youth used this to great effect against hardened Russian soldiers. So it's a disposable weapon. It's a one-shot deal. You fire it and you throw it away. So this is the granddaddy of the modern disposable system.